Today we are fixing another Land Cruiser clunk. This time it is the diff bushings. You've got one on the back plate, one on the side mount and one at the rear of the diff here. So when you move between forward and reverse, you get this awful clunk that comes out of the diff bushes. Toyota don't actually sell a diff bushing. They only want to sell you a new back plate, which is about £700, but you can get an aftermarket one from Febest. There is also a side mount here, 3 bolts, 1, 2 and a third one here. That lets you take off that diff bushing, and you can buy that whole arm for about £150. The last one is on the back of the diff here, and as you can see, I've cheated in that one and I've just put a new diff bushing on that. I've just replaced a whole arm, 3 bolts, more on that later. To get the front one out, you require a chisel. You start off with a really thin chisel, like a wood chisel, and you have to chip away between the metal layers. And for the other two, you can remove the arms and then use a press to squash in some new bearings. I'm going to start with the side one because it's probably easiest, and I'll get my eye in there and then I'll move on to the front one. I'll tell you what, there is some bullshit involved here in trying to press this stuff out. I'm getting there, but it's not a job that I can recommend. I think maybe next time I'll just spend the £150 on the part. We'll see. Nope, I take it all back. I could do that again. Didn't even have to grease it to go back in. So this is the, I guess you could call it the side diff mount. Everything to connect this thing is 19mm bolts, so that's quite easy, but I had to use a variety of things to actually get at the two ends. So one of them I used a 19mm S-shaped ring spanner. One of them I had to use a wheel key because I needed a super long 19mm, and the other one was like on a bendy ratchet, and that got me in there. But with the Mjolnir gun here, that was easy enough to break off the rusted on bolts and then get it out. The actual bushing in itself, like it was definitely perished, but getting it out, it still put up a really good fight to try and get it out. So I had to use a 12-ton press. Chiseling it didn't work, so I just don't think you're going to get this out with a chisel. So I used some cups on the 12-ton press and got this in here, and I mean, it's still, is that voided? I mean, it's voided a little bit, but you can't see all the way through it. This other one, in places you can see right through the whole thing, so this one looks like it's got a bit more rubber around about. But this was a Febest part. I'll stick the part number in the description down below. But now I'm going to try and get back under the car, which is just, I mean, it's just sitting there. I haven't had to jack it up or anything. I'll probably use my jack now in order to get, excuse me, I'll probably use my jack now in order to get the bracket seated again, because getting it back into that mount will be a little bit tricky. But yeah, I'll put all the 19s back in. Probably have to jack it a little bit in order to get it to seat. And then after that, the next mission is going to be the front diff mount bushing, and that's probably where all the slop is coming from when you go from drive to neutral to reverse. Plenty of videos on that online, but let's get the side mount back in place. Hit it with a bit of lithium moly grease, because why not? I have a giant pot of it. If I ever have to do this again, it's less of an issue. It's also good for keeping those threads alive, because let's not forget these are getting quite old now. Not only am I doing this one-handed, but I'm doing it left-handed. Give that a little dunk in my grease pot. That's going in not bad. Worth noting that I've been given this penetrating oil for weeks now, just coming out and giving it a little scoosh every now and then. There's a scoosh, good Scottish word for you. Give it a scoosh every now and then to make this job easier. Oh, it's starting to rain now, fantastic. For this front one, I just dropped the 90mm bolt out. It started to sag down, so I've dropped the jack underneath it, and I'm just using a wood chisel. It's a very sharp wood chisel, but it's also sacrificial. I don't need this one. So I'm just starting to work into the lip. So I'll just work that a little bit, and that will allow me to get the BF chisel and just smash it to pieces. Making sure I've got my front mounted to the front. Hopefully I can do this without needing two hands. Okay, let's just start. Right, well there it is, it's on. The orientation is there so that it's got this wider part of the front that allows it to flex sideways but not pitch back and forward. 19mm bolt is back up to spec. New cushion on the top, that's tab 334. I think that's tab 333 from Febest, I'll put the part numbers. But that was a real pain in the hook to do. Lots of chisels and crowbarring, getting it actually pressed in. A proper ball joint press was the best tool for the job in the end. I used all sorts of clamps and spanners, and like I bought a whole bunch of different sizes of C-spanners and impact, not spanners, clamps. But what worked at the end was a good old-fashioned ball joint press, which was this, oh, that's high quality and upside down. So that ball joint press was about £45 from Amazon. That's what did it in the end, because when you move between reverse and drive, the diff rocks, and I got my wife to rock the diff while I slowly inched the ball joint press in, because the problem you'll have is if you move the car at all, the diff will jam right back up onto this plate here and you won't be able to get anything in. So just get someone to rock it between drive and reverse, and this part will tip forward and down so you can get stuff in. But ball joint press is what did it in the end. I actually had to file down the inside of the diff back plate. I tried a wire brush first of all, that wasn't heavy duty enough, so then I moved up to an actual file and filed out the inside so that I could press in the new diff bushing. Now, as you saw earlier, for the back one, I am cheating. I went on Amayama with the part number and I bought the arm. So I've done this three ways. The first one, it was chisels and then using an impact clamp to press the new one in. The second one was the side beam, and I used the 12-ton press to squash that in. And the last one, I cheated. I just went on Amayama and I bought the part because I had enough by this point. So I just bought the part new and bolted it on. But it is an expensive way to do it. That's £150 for that one arm. So that's all three diff mounts now replaced. And has it fixed my clunk? No. So now I'm going to have to do both engine mounts and a gearbox mount as well. I've got them in the garage. It just means there's another sort of £250-ish of rubber bushings that I'll have to put on. That's tomorrow's job, is engine mounts and gearbox mount. So I'll do a video on that at some point as well once I get time to edit it up. So that's how you do it. That's what I've learned along the way. I hope that video was useful. Subscribe if you want to see more. Lots of more videos on the way. And as always, stay safe, make good decisions if you can, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Thanks everyone. Bye.